Good morning and welcome to this episode of Leadership Stars with Linda Patten. Today, my special guest is Christine Hardy, and I'll tell you in just a minute about her, and we'll get started with the interview as well. I wanted to remind you that Leadership Stars is designed for up-and-coming leaders, individuals who have stepped into their leadership and want to know more. So even if you're an organization and you're not making millions of dollars, this is a program for you. If you're building teams, growing teams, and want to know how to do it more effectively, more efficiently, and more powerfully, then this is the program for you. What I'm bringing together is a group of leaders who come from various different disciplines. So some of them from multi-level marketing, network marketing, and direct sales, but others come from different disciplines. Like Christine comes to us from a nutrition and health perspective. We had Carrie the other day who brought us, we've had author coaches, we've had publishers, all sorts of really fun individuals to take you to a different realm of leadership. So let's welcome today our special guest, Christine Hardy. Hi, Christine, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'd like to start by just doing reading your bio because it's so fabulous and so rich. So Chris, sought after, keynote speaker, a two-time published author, is a certified nutritionist and holds a master's degree in nutrition. She's passionate about changing the healthcare system from the sick care to preventive care. She does this by educating doctors and healthcare professionals to drop the one-size-diet-fits-all approach. God, do I know how that works. To a healthcare program based on their inherent diet, nutritional, exercise, and health goals, all created solely for them. A no-fail roadmap that allows any individual to reach and create optimal time. How fabulous. And I've actually worked with you too, Christine, haven't I? Yeah.
That's absolutely fabulous.
So, Christine, I'd like to start with, first of all, I'd like to welcome you. I'm so glad you're here, and we finally actually made this happen.
Right.
That's awesome. And so the first question I usually ask is, so why nutrition? Why did you get in that particular field, and what drew you to it in the first place?
I think a lot of listeners or people that are watching on this would agree that sometimes you're born into your profession, right? It was picked for you before you were born. And so I feel that way. Absolutely. I felt like I came into the world and it was already set and designed for me. My grandfather had died very young, and just a couple years later I was born, and my father he wanted to be healthy. He wanted to live past 37 because his father died at 37. And so I was born into this idea that if you didn't eat healthy, you were going to die. If anything, you weren't going to make it to 37. So I just grew up in that environment, and it shaped me and made me ask questions, and it got me curious.
So, Christine, you have a lot of education in nutrition. You've written 2 books. I know about one of them. What's the second book?
It's called The Inspired Life. And basically the first book is a kick your butt, get into action mode, really do what you want to do, and more personal development. And the second book, The Inspired Life, is all about inspiration. So I feel like we need inspiration and a kick in the pants to really be able to lead our teams and get going every day. It's hard to just go without some positive inspiration.
That's fabulous, Christine, and it's very interesting because actually part of my program, The Art of Herding Cats, Leading Teams of Leaders, is about inspiration, how to provide inspiration for the people on your team, but also to be able to understand what motivates them and to be able to create situations where that motivation can happen. I actually talked to an individual who deals with knowledge workers, and he said, money's not be all of this. There are other intrinsic things that people are looking for, autonomy and that kind of thing. And so I think you're right. Wanting to live an inspired life and be able to live it is something that's really, really important. not quite as early as you, but my grandmother died at 71 and my mom died at 71. And so like, okay, so getting past the age 71 is a good thing.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's exactly how I felt. And that's what spearheaded me into getting the health degrees and really making it a lifestyle and helping people get answers and to want to live past 37, to really want to take hold of their life and have a reason to live. And I think that that's important.
Very much so. So as a leader, you've begun to talk about how important it is to have the best health. But what is it? Why is it so important for leaders, especially, to really embrace good health?
Well, if you don't have good health, you don't have wealth, right? You're foggy, you're fatigued, you don't feel good about yourself. Leaders are, I believe, what people look up to. Kind of, this is what I want to obtain, this is where I want to go. And if you're not showing anything but just being tired and no motivation because what you're putting in your body is just really wreaking havoc, then your whole system's going to fall apart. I think there's a real trust factor with that. If you're not healthy and you can't show what work needs to be done and do it well, then people lose trust. And why are we doing this? What's even the mission here? The leader's not even interested. And that's how poor health can come across.
Absolutely. So if you had a chance to impact every leader in the world regarding health, what would be your advice?
Do something about it. I'm telling you, it could be the smallest change. It could be getting up in the morning and drinking 2 cups of water so that your brain will actually wake up and you can lead the day and have a better attitude. The brain is mostly water and fat. So I think those are absolutely huge. So if someone's eating a lot of carbohydrates all day long and they're not giving the brain healthy fats, or they're dehydrated, they're drinking a lot of coffee or soda just to get through the day, their brain is not going to be as functional and they're not going to be happy people. So just adding in some healthy fats and drinking lots of water can absolutely change the leader's mood and ambition and motivation from the start of the day.
Okay. Christine, tell us, would you mind telling us a bit about how you that diet, that specific health plan for an individual? You have a really interesting row through to be able to determine what type of person is this and what type of diet do they really need to have to be that outstanding leader and to have that inspiration to be able to lead their teams.
Absolutely. So over 15 years ago, I was taught by a doctor to do something called metabolic typing. And it was a series of testing to figure out what foods are right for somebody as well as what vitamins. And I loved it. It was amazing. And now I basically have a virtual version of that gets very sciencey and geeky and gets into the genetics of really what's right for the person. So I tell people they can learn what diet's right for them just by doing one thing, and that's just spitting into a saliva tube for me. So once they spit into a tube, I'm able to figure out what foods are right and, of course, what they should be doing for exercise. So those are 2 big components that, exercise is a whole nother thing. If you're not moving your body, you're going to get tired and gain weight and not be motivated. So I think that goes hand in hand with the diet, but both can genetically be formulated for you so that you're always on track. So,
and Christine, I know when you and I worked together, we did the metabolic testing, and that was absolutely amazing. It was so insightful as to what I shouldn't be eating and what I should be eating in order to be, really at the top of my game. But exercise wasn't something that. So how did the exercise piece fit into the metabolic testing?
Absolutely. So this is taking it to a whole nother level. So instead of just looking at the metabolic component of the body, we're looking at the genetic portion of it. So basically, I'm doing a 2.0 version of what I was doing. So any patients that have done the metabolic testing like you did, this would be the next step. So it would just be another saliva test, and it would further individualize your diet and actually give you an exercise routine that would give you energy and prevent injury. So it's exciting. Science is just moving very quickly, so it's neat to be part of that.
Yeah, I bet that's very exciting for you to see the field moving forward and actually taking a leadership in the health of individuals. You know, as you said in your bio, we've always, medically has been around, we'll deal with you when you're sick. Mm-hmm. And so it's all acute or chronic, rather than the preventive. I have a huge organization with preventive medicine, and really encourages people to be preventive. How do we take leadership and change that model from preventive care?
Well, number one, I think that's a great question. I think this is for anybody, whether they're feeling like they're a leader or not. I mean, I love your book. I feel like everyone's a leader. They just have to be shown that they are. And you're great at showing that. It's all within us. But it's really taking leadership of your body and asking a lot of questions. Versus, from now and 10 years ago, people are asking a lot more questions. And the medical community is saying, wow, now we have to actually put a question on our form. What vitamins are you taking? It's a whole new world because people are gravitating towards different ways of being well. And there's so much information on the internet that they just question. And I tell patients, if they're not asking me questions, they're not being a leader in their own health because they're not showing interest. They really have to be an active participant and stand up for themselves when something's not feeling right in order to get answers.
Yeah, and you spoke to the fact that more and more people are taking vitamins, they're taking supplements. There are more health food stores growing up in the area. So recommend supplements, and if so, why? And do you have ones that you really think everybody should have no matter what their metabolic testing shows?
Mm-hmm. So there's over 85,000 choices on the market for vitamins. It's overwhelming. I just imagine consumers standing in front of this wall of pills. They go to the health food store and they're just thinking, why am I here in the first place? What should I be taking? What dosage? They don't know what to look for on the label. So it's very important that the supplements are right for the person. And I can do that through the genetic testing as well. Just through saliva, we can figure out what vitamins are right, because vitamins can be toxic, right? They're very high potency. If they're not right for your body, it's going to be a lot more, it's going to be harsher on the body than if you just have extra broccoli that day, which may or may not be good for you depending on your genetics, of course, funny enough, as you know. So it really has gotten down to science, so that you're not actually making your body more toxic and creating more harm by just taking what you think might do a good job. And doctors aren't educated in this realm. So I'm working with them, like I said in my bio, to help this education process and give them a way to scientifically show what's right, so that people can take their meds if they need to, and the vitamins, and be in optimal wellness overall.
Okay, Christine, there's a new company out there who's doing also, I guess, genetic testing. And what they're looking at is your ability to absorb medications and that kind of thing, and to see where there's between medications and with your DNA. I think they take a cheek swab and sort of run that and look at those kinds of aspects. So just curious, what do you think of that, and how does that relate, if it does, to the metabolic testing you're doing?
So great question. So there's a lot of genetic tests out there, and I am grateful for them. Absolutely. So the company that I'm working with, which is a testing company out of San Francisco, they basically take raw data and they flip it into actionable results. So some people may have done 23andMe or some of the other more unique genetic testing, but it doesn't give information on what to do next. So this company has been able to do that for the first time. And they also do medication testing as well. So if someone's on a blood pressure medication and they're getting a lot of side effects, you can actually see if they're really bent on being on that, then what's going to be better for their system and not give them the side effects. But I do appreciate the companies that are doing that solely, and that's their bread and butter, because they're really good at it. And people need to know that. You know, we have thousands and thousands of people have died that each year, and they're taking their medications properly. You know, so how do we really figure out how to support someone on a whole different level? And genetics is really the next thing. It's been proven over and over to just make strides in healthcare. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that they're looking at is your ability to absorb the medication, and that in some cases you're a slow absorber and toxic because you keep taking your medication thinking that it's absorbing and doing its stuff, and instead it's sitting there, and all you're doing is adding to that load to a place where you know, you can either get sick, you can die, that kind of thing. And so for the elderly, I think that's really important. And I think even those of us who are taking medications at a younger age, knowing where you sit, what medications really work with you, what ones clash with what you're doing. So I think what you're doing is a really key aspect to all of that as well. Would you agree?
Absolutely, because it's looking at the whole picture. It's not just isolating. You know, Western medicine, it is sick care because we're just isolating one aspect of the body, which is great. If you have a broken arm or you need your gallbladder out, great, go to the doctor. I'm not going to help you with that. But overall, looking at the umbrella of what it means to be well. Are you absorbing your nutrients? What vitamins are you taking? Exercise and foods. Those are really the foundational things that we all kind of struggle with, and we're all very curious about. And we're constantly grasping for answers around that just to be able to function at a high capacity as a leader needs to, and be on top of their game and really be able to be on the cutting edge, I guess you can say, because you have to have that extra energy and that extra motivation to lead a big team, or even just a couple of people. That takes energy.
Exactly. And I think in some respects, television, radio, even the newspapers and magazines are doing us a disservice with all of the drug ads that they on. I mean, I find it incredible the amount of there are out there. And so people go to their doctors, they go to their nutritionist and say, hey, should I have this? Right. TV says I should. I want it. And all the side effects, it's like, why would you ever take this drug? You know, it's very interesting. So people are curious. People are trying to take a leadership role in their health, sidetracked by all the hype around certain medications, this kind of thing. What advice would you give to our audience about that?
I think that that's brilliant that you brought that up. And I think that the ads are confusing and they're scary because a lot of them now end up in death. The side effect is death if you want to correct your allergies, right? Or a sinus infection to correct your allergies. Right, you have these worse conditions. And then, of course, as we all know, the ads are very pretty and everyone's getting along with their family. And it's just this psychological turmoil. And so I think that's really hard for the consumer. And that's exactly, I believe, what they want. It's marketing, right? They want you to have a good feeling about possibly dying from this. If it means, you know, spending an extra day with your granddaughter or whatever it is, it's really twisted. So what I usually suggest to my clients or anybody out there, any leader, which again, we're all leaders, as you know, is to really write down what's on the TV and then research it. We have so much research at our fingertips, and PubMed is a great resource online that goes through millions and millions of studies and tests. They are very well known, and you get a lot of great information. But the thing is, also know that medications are a Band-Aid. For example, there's something going on with digestion. That medication is obviously not going to correct your carb addiction that may be causing the digestive issues, right? And I think being more curious and trying to get to being more curious and trying to get to the root of the problem. And I think some people will do that and just some people won't. And I think that's just human nature. And I have to let that go. You know, we can't save everybody, but people will figure it out along their journey. And sometimes it's taking one medication and they feel horrible, so they go completely alternative. Sometimes they come to me and they've been sick for 20 years. And now they know what they've done wrong or whatever, and they want to reboot, they want to fix it all. So it's just, I meet people where they're at, and I don't think there's any judgment there, but I just research and ask questions. That's all there is to it. And just know that there's always something that could be causing the issue. And medications, I mean, you don't have an Advil deficiency, right? You don't have a Benadryl deficiency or, any kind of blood pressure. You don't have those deficiencies. But you may have a B vitamin deficiency that's causing your blood pressure to go up. Right? Yeah. That makes more sense.
That's a very important point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really great point. And I know as an RN, one of the things that I noticed was doctors prescribing antibiotics for anything. You know, we think it's something, but so prescribe an antibiotic and what we've created are those superbugs that are antibiotic resistant.
Right.
And and we compound it with the antibacterial soaps and the sprays and everything else in such a way that we're creating these superbugs that even healthy people have a difficult time and that kind of thing. So any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So you just hit the nail on the head right there. And our gut is everything. If our gut's not functioning, we can't absorb our nutrients. And then our body literally starts to fall apart.
Right.
And, they're always saying that the brain is really the gut because a lot of your neurotransmitters live in your gut. And 80% of your serotonin, that feel-good hormone, is in your gut, is produced in your gut. So it's absolutely huge. So when you're killing off that bacteria, you're basically killing off your brain, which sounds crazy. But I mean, when people come into me, just being very honest, if people come into me or a patient comes in and says, I'm on an antidepressant or I just have low mood, the first question I ask is, what's going on with your gut? I won't even go to the brain. I go to the gut. And when the gut is corrected, the brain is corrected. And it can be, if they're on antidepressants or not, they're going to be able to function a heck of a lot better and more clear when their gut is healthy and the inflammation's gone down. That's absolutely huge. And then, of course, I always suggest a good probiotic, depending on what's going on with the person. Yeah.
Okay. So, Christine, I know you're really busy. You're always on the go. I know I'm always on the go with you either. And the first that goes is diet. You're on the road, so you're eating garbage. Oftentimes you're in the car, and the idea of having salad in the car is just wrong. So, what do you guys for our leaders as to how eat better when they're on the go, and how can they minimize symptoms that and illness that they might home with them, so that they go out healthy and they come back healthy?
That's a loaded question. There's a lot of aspects. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of aspects to that. So the very simple answer is no matter where you are, limit the carbohydrates.
Okay.
And the reason is because they turn right to fat, and the last thing we want is more fat on our belly, right? And it raises our blood sugar, and then our energy goes up and down, and we feel awful. So, I mean, it's just a roller coaster. So if they're going through the drive-through, try to minimize the carbs as much as possible. Absolutely. It's going to keep them awake. It's going to help them feel lighter, and they're not going to feel sluggish the next day, even if they go through the drive-through window. For example, at In-N-Out, they have lettuce wraps, right? We've probably all heard of those, to where the lettuce goes around the burger instead of the bun. That will save you so many calories. It will save you so much energy, as far as it's going to give you the energy that you need. And also, it's not going to crash you later to want a sweet or some kind of caffeine. And then you're going to sleep better at night. So this is all about what you're eating during the day that's, of course, going to help you recover quick enough so that you can have a good day the next day and keep the snowball going, right? And of course, chugging lots of water is very important. Half your body weight in water is what's recommended. A lot of people don't do that. Us women would be urinating all day long. We don't hold it as well as men. So there's that. And then the other thing, which I think is really important, is anywhere you go, add avocado, which sounds crazy, but avocado is so good for you. It's healthy and fast. It's good for the brain, and it's going to help sustain you so you don't have cravings, and you're going to be fuller longer with that avocado. So most restaurants or drive-thrus have avocado somehow, some way. And I think that that's a really easy tip to implement. Yeah.
I think that's great, and you've just now raised the stock of the avocado growers of California.
That was my intention.
I agree with you. I think it's phenomenal, and it's good. You know, no matter what you add it to, it always adds flavor. As you said, it adds fat, and besides which is green. Makes the food look really raw and good and all that good stuff. So thank you. That wonderful tip. I think that's something we all do. When we're out on the road and meeting with teams and having something quick and at perhaps a drive-through.
Right.
Know that you have a free gift for our audience, and I'd love you to tell us a little bit about that and then how they can access that.
Absolutely. First of all, Linda, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a joy. I just love connecting with you, and it's just been really neat to be able to connect with your community. So thank you.
You're so very welcome, and it has been a delight to have you on the show as well.
Oh, thank you. So the gift is I'm going to be gifting a strategy session because I think it's important to me as a practitioner to ask questions. I am an active listener, and I think that's important for leaders just in general. And I want to know if we're even a good fit or if I can support you in any way. So I want to gift you with my time. So I'm going to be gifting a 20-minute strategy session, and you can go to my email, and then I'll send you my schedule link, and you can connect with me that way. And it's Christine with a C, and I'm going to give you the testing company's name because that's what we're talking about, genetics. So Christine at Vitagene, Vitagene, not jeans that you put on, even though it makes you look good in your jeans. gene.com, and then just say, saw you on Linda Patten's interview and would love to have a strategy session, and I'll send you my link and we'll get connected.
Well, that's terrific, Christine. And I know everybody in the audience, this is something that's, I found my session with Christine to be absolutely enlightening, and it's helped me lower my blood pressure and some other things as well. So I thank you, Christine, for all of that. It has been a joy to have you here. And so I go about doing this, then please go to my website at www.dreamwithlinda.com/herding-cat. You'll also find this in the description of the program itself. And there you can download an assessment that will show you the 10 top secret indicators of successful leaders, as well as the first lesson in the first step of the Art of Herding Cats, which is part of defining leadership. And I'd love to have you email me back and tell me what you saw and where you'd like to go with it as well. So Christine, again, thank you so very much for being here and for giving us this really vital information. I think personal lives as well. And if you're not leading in health, then how can you others to follow you as you're spending more time being ill or supporting the energy and inspiration of your body. So I really appreciate this, and I thank you so very, very much for being here. And last of all, we have one more interview. Absolutely fabulous. She is a phenomenal voice coach. So until then, touch and be courageous. Dare to lead. And we are off air.